Hi, I'm Starborn. Remember to be a star. You have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. And we are going to be talking about some pretty amazing thing this week, and that is why the title of tonight's show is Reaching an Understanding. And that is possible for everybody right now, even though there can be a few little blips along the way, but still it's very possible to reach an understanding right now, and that could be crucial to your future happiness and success. And that is because today there are 6 planets in a grand trine in the water signs. And so since the water signs are always healing, and they do promote understanding, and they have a lot to do with our feelings and our emotions, this is a time with 6 planets all trining and fortifying each other in the water signs that you would be able to reach an understanding right now. And it begins because the sign of Pisces is so loaded. It has 4 planets there, and the lucky north node of the moon. Because the sun is in Pisces, so is Mercury, so is Saturn. They're all direct, and then so is Neptune, the ruler of the sign, which has moved up to the 29th degree of fate in Pisces. And the lucky north node of the moon is still there at the 28th degree. So that sign is absolutely loaded. All the planets are direct and moving forward, and they are being trined beautifully by the moon today, which is in Scorpio. And then that moon, that would be the 5th planet, and the planets in Pisces are all trining Mars, which is retrograde in Cancer. And so with these 6 planets all beautifully trining each other, it can mean that you can be sort of taking a moment now, and you can be thinking about something that represents your fondest dream, or a secret love, or a goal that you have in the future, or something that you've really had sort of locked in your heart or behind the scenes for a long time, because Pisces rules things behind the scenes. It also rules the traditional 12th house of our hidden doubts and fears. In other words, you could have your eye on somebody that you really care about, but you could be a little bit afraid about whether they would really accept you or not. Well, that's sort of natural, but you'd get a lot of help with reaching an understanding right now. So I hope you take a moment in your busy life and sit back and really think and talk and admit to yourself about who or what you really love, or the goals or aspirations that you may have had secretly even for a very long time, because there is a possibility that those could be coming true as soon as you reach an honest understanding about them, which you can do right now. So what are some of the things that can relate to achieving your understanding? Well, one of them is that the moon is in Scorpio today, and it is a fixed financial sign, and it rules justice and survival. But Scorpio also rules loyalty. And so with the gentle moon there, which rules our feelings, trining the planets in Pisces and Mars in Cancer, I think that we can all have a great sense of who or what we really care about, or what we really are, that we admire in people, or we admire in the values that we live by, and we can have a sense of loyalty to that. It may also remind you of the way you were raised, and the sense of loyalty that you have even to your family, or to the things that they stood for. And they could, they raised you. And so maybe you could be thinking about all that as well. And then Mars is in Cancer. It too is trining the 4 planets in Pisces and in the moon in Scorpio. And these 2 planets, Mars in Cancer and the moon in Scorpio, are doubly strong. And that is because the moon is in Scorpio, but it's trining the sign it rules, Cancer. Well, Mars is in Cancer and is trining the sign it rules, Scorpio. They're just in a really good aspect to each other and to all the planets in Pisces. But that is why there is an undeniable reason why you can really be able to put the past behind you right now. And that is because the only planet at home in the sign it rules is also at the 29th degree of fate, and that is Neptune. Neptune also can represent kidding yourself about something. But any planet that's at the 29th degree means something is either on or it's over. And that's because the planet has no more room to move. You know, it's at the end of the sign. And so this is a time when, if you are able to reach an understanding about where you are today and where you want to be tomorrow and who you want to be with, then you would be able to say to yourself, well, you know, maybe I just better try to really understand who I really care about in my true heart, and who can I be loyal to, and, you know, what are the values or the goals or the dreams that I have. Because there is a possibility that something is on or over, depending on what kind of an understanding that you reach right now. But at least I think it would be an honest one, which is very good. Is there anything that could hold you up right now? Anything that could, you know, that you'd also have to consider? Well, yes, there are some things according to where other planets are placed, and you could consider them, but the overriding strength is in the 6 planets that are trining each other in the water signs. They're really going to enable you to ask your heart how you really feel. And you can come to an understanding about that. And this is a good time to do that. But some of the things that could be also bothering you are that there are 3 planets in the fixed signs in a harsh T-cross. And that's because that moon in Scorpio today is actually being opposed strongly by Uranus in Taurus. And these are the 2 fixed financial signs. Taurus rules investments. It's how you make your money, what you spend your money on, and it rules high-priced everything. And Scorpio rules money coming in from any other source. So it rules credit, debt, taxes, loans, insurance, inheritance, and grants. And these 2 good planets, the moon in Scorpio and Uranus in Taurus, are coming head to head right now. So there can be some arguments or disagreements about financial matters that are connected to the future, because both of them square Pluto, which is in Aquarius, the sign of the future. So that's important to realize. But actually, the moon in Scorpio has a lot of backup because it's in the grand trine in the water signs. Uranus in Taurus doesn't have any backup. There isn't anything in Virgo, and there isn't anything in Capricorn. And then Pluto is in Aquarius, squaring both the moon and Uranus. But Pluto does have backup. Uranus in Gemini is trining it. And so there can be some disagreements, or there can be some financial problems that you also have to reach an understanding about. And this is a good time to do that too. It's just a very good time to be totally honest with how you feel and sort of what you want to do as you put the past behind you, because Neptune's at that 29th degree, and ask yourself how you can go forward in a very honest way. Another thing that can be somewhat disruptive right now is that the 4 planets in Pisces are all being squared by that Jupiter in Gemini, because it means that there's 5 planets in mutable signs squaring each other right now. And because Gemini rules communication, particularly short forms of communications that sort of come out from nowhere, or short trips, and they rule our pals and our buddies in our neighborhood. And because there's a square to the planets in Pisces, which are very strong right now, there is an indication that there can be mixed messages around. And because there are mixed messages around, that's why this is a better time for you to quietly think by yourself. You know, try to reach an understanding just with how you honestly feel in your heart, because there could be mixed messages out there. But if you're wasting your time on the mixed messages when you really ought to be trying to be as honest with yourself as you can, then you're never going to get an understanding. And this is a good time to reach an understanding. An understanding is something you can live with. Something that might involve something behind the scene, or someone behind the scenes that you really, truly love, or a goal that you think is so important that you need to go for it. This is the right time to be thinking about that. And so sort of tune out those mixed messages if you get any. And then the last thing is that Mars in Cancer is squaring Venus in Aries. Now that's been going on for weeks now. And that means that nobody's relationships are perfect right now because Mars is squaring Venus. On top of that, Aries, where Venus is, rules new starts. And Mars is in Cancer, which rules endings. Okay, and these two are coming up against each other. They have been for weeks now. And Mars is retrograde. And so that simply means that a new beginning, perhaps that somebody wants to make, either you or somebody else, can run into a jealous reaction by family members. That's ruled by Cancer. Or if there is some sort of ending that you're thinking of, it might be in order to precipitate a new beginning going in a different direction. Possibly not everyone would be in agreement about that. So you might want to be real careful and tactful about your decisions right now. And also there can just be that something is deliberately stalled because other people can, particularly in the family, can be somewhat jealous about new starts that can change the old status quo. In other words, if you're wanting to make a new start and your family members are saying, wait a minute, that's not the way we've always done it, well, Neptune's at that 29th degree of fate in Pisces. Something is on or over. You need to reach an understanding, first of all, with yourself so that you can put the past behind you. And then you're going to have a few other little side issues that you may have to contend with, but they aren't half as strong as the compelling need for you to understand yourself now and exactly where your heart stands and what your goals are. And maybe it's time to either get on with that or else realize it could be slipping by. And so this is a real good time for you to reach an understanding about what's important to you and then follow through. Okay, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Aries. This is a time, Aries, when, look at you, the Venus is still in your sign. But that isn't where the action is. And the action is in the water signs right now, and you actually have 4 very strong planets in Pisces right behind your sun sign. So there can be quite a bit of reasoning or thinking or even decision-making going on behind the scenes, because you may realize that dreaming a dream is wonderful, but making it come true is something else. And since Neptune is at the 29th degree of fate, it's soon to enter your sign, Aries. It simply means that somewhere in the background of your life, something is on or over. And you'll have to ask yourself how important that is to you. If it's over, and you're trying to put the past behind you and start something new, even if other people are not agreeing with that, then that would be okay with you. But if you had been waiting and waiting and waiting to finally get something together or really sit down and talk to yourself and reach an understanding, this is just about your last chance to do it, Aries. And I realize with Venus in your sign, if you had to take a vote on something, you'd vote for yourself and what you want. But the thing is, if you had any secret dream or love or secret goal or ambition in the background of your life, you will have to make room for that, or else it'll be gone. And so you need to sort of balance things out right now if you can, Aries. And remember that Mars is in Cancer. It is squaring your sun. It's your own ruler. And it's retrograde. So not everyone is going to agree if you want to make a new start in one way or another, because they would say, well, that's not the way it was done before, or that's not like the good old days. Well, you'll just have to swallow it, Aries, because you're having a solar eclipse in your sign that is coming up the end of March. And you are aspected to make a new beginning, and somewhat favorably. Sun and the moon both will be in your sign under that solar eclipse. So you're going to have to start thinking of what is best for you, but also if you ignore something that's been in your secret heart for a long time, then and you're not going to pay attention to that, and you're not going to reach an understanding about that, then it's going to be over. Because Neptune doesn't have any more room to move in Pisces, it's going to be heading into your sign pretty soon. And it does not act the same way in your sign as it did in Pisces. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Taurus. This is a time, Taurus, when I think that you can realize that you have to make some sort of understanding, perhaps about your financial affairs, or your possessions. It could be the things you own. Certainly about the value of investments, because there's no support for your sign. There's nothing in Virgo, there's nothing in Capricorn backing it up, and that moon is in the other fixed financial sign, Scorpio, but it is very well fortified by the other. There's a total of 6 planets in water signs, not having any problem right now, but it is opposing Uranus in your sign, which is a malefic planet of sudden surprise. And it is so late in Taurus that it is being subruled by Saturn, another malefic planet. You might even have some financial problems from long ago that for some reason they may have changed, or the terms may have changed, or the amount of money may have changed, or the values may have changed, and you really need to take a look at that, Taurus, because it doesn't look to me like it's going to get any better unless you do take a real serious look at that and perhaps decide to downsize. This may not be a time that is good for you to expand, and the reason why is that Pluto is in Aquarius, which rules the future. Uranus in your sign is the actual ruler of Aquarius, so it's squaring the sign it rules. And with Pluto squaring your sign as well, and being backed up beautifully by Jupiter in Gemini, in a way, Taurus, it means that this is a good time for you to reach an understanding about, since yours is a fixed financial sign, it's got to be about the money. An understanding that involves just what you are thinking about, or what you own, or where you want to put your money. Just you, nobody else, Taurus. Think about that real carefully right now, because if you've been kidding yourself for a long time, it could be catching up with you right now. And if you haven't been kidding, but you haven't paid as much attention to financial situations around you, this is a very good time for you to do that. And I would say that's where you need to reach an understanding. The sooner the better. Good luck. What does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, this is a time, Gemini, when it is possible that there can be mixed messages around, because Jupiter in your sign, although it is beautifully trined by Pluto in Aquarius, which means you have some probably some pretty good ideas for the future, and you could be getting backup from a powerful person in upper management in a large corporation, government agency, or institution, because that's what Pluto rules, and it's trining Jupiter in your sign, which is direct, and that's fine. But all the planets in Pisces, all 4 of them, are squaring that Jupiter, and that means there is the possibility, Gemini, that in the background of your life, or in your secret heart, someone that you care about quite a bit, or some goal that you have, or some dream that you have, Pisces rules dreams, could be maybe a little confusing, or it's not well enough developed right now, or there can be some mixed messages around, and you could be a little bit confused about things right now, Gemini, but I would say in the long run, the undeniable reason why this is a time for all of us to try to reach an understanding is because that Neptune, which is squaring your sun, is at the 29th degree of fate, meaning that something is on or over. And so, Gemini, you're going to probably have to decide, okay, is this dream on or over? Or is this person that I really care about, is that worth continuing on? Is there anything coming back? Is it reciprocal, or are there just so many mixed messages that it's all too confusing? So you're going to have to sort of straighten something out that is involved with something behind the scenes, and it's either something that you've secretly really cared about for a long time, or it can be a goal of yours, or it can be a person that you really care about, and if you haven't been kidding yourself about them, but you are somewhat thrown off by mixed messages that you're getting right now, I think that you will have to reach some sort of understanding yourself, and it's all about your feelings, Gemini, and how you really feel deep down. And if you can reach an understanding about that, that'll be great. So you don't have to worry too much about what the mixed messages are or who they're coming from. You only have to concentrate on how you really feel right now, and think about it and make a decision. Because if you've been sort of kidding yourself about something, now is still a very good time to put the past behind you. And that's because Neptune, which is squaring your sun sign, is at the 29th degree of fate. And move on or get over something, Gemini, one or the other. And Jupiter's still in your sign, and it's still being trined by Pluto. The future's looking real good for you, Gemini. I think the question is, who's going to be in it with you? And that's what you have to reach an understanding about. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, Mars is in your sign. It's still retrograde. It's not going to stay retrograde. By the end of this month, it will be direct, and in fact, there won't be any retrograde planets by the end of this month, which is good. But for right now, the moon, your own ruler, is in Scorpio, trining your sun where you have Mars. And that means there could be some more money coming your way, Cancer. And it could be coming from some sort of a refund. It could be coming like a tax refund. Or it could be coming from getting a loan. Or even, oddly enough, paying off a debt would mean that you wouldn't have to worry about that anymore. That could be pretty nice for you as well. And also, the 4 planets in Pisces are trining your sun, which is excellent because one of them is Saturn. It's another malefic planet, and so is Mars in your sign. And yet they're working on your behalf. And that's because they're part of the grand trine in the water signs. They're working in everybody's behalf if they're willing to be very honest and sit down and think about their true feelings right now and reach some kind of understanding. So you should do that too. However, Venus is in Aries. It's squaring Mars in your sign. That means that not all of your relationships have been working out too well. And it sort of means right now, Cancer, that it's beginning to dawn on you that you can't please everybody, and you can't. And so you have to pretty much, if you're wanting to make a new beginning in one way or another, even if it involves something that you've always kept behind the scenes, but you're feeling you need to move forward on that now, and your sign does rule moving, it simply means that other people could be somewhat jealous or upset because it's going to upset the status quo. It'll be sort of upsetting the way things always used to be. But that's all right. The reason it's all right is because every single one of us has a right to make up our own minds. And it's our lives we have to live in the future. Nobody can go back to the past. And the people that would say, oh, you're rocking my boat because you want to do something new, or go somewhere in a different direction, or be with somebody new. Oh, well, they can get over that, Cancer. And the reason why they can get over it is because nobody goes backward because time doesn't go backward. If you want to start something new or have a new relationship with somebody, other people will get used to it. Not everybody has to like it right away, but that's not important. The only thing that's important is if you like it. So try to reach an understanding that that follows your deepest feelings and your highest dreams or your highest goals. This is a very good time for you to do that. And you have a lot of support. I also think you're going to have a little more money to do that. Whatever you decide, you'll have more money to be able to do that. And that'll work out well too. But I'm still telling you, just like I'm telling everybody else, with Neptune being at the 29th degree of fate, something is on or over. And we all have to reach an understanding about how important something is to us and whether we can live with it being over or whether this is the time to put the past behind us and move forward. So it's up to you, Cancer. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, There's only one planet in a fire sign right now, Leo, but it's Venus in Aries, and it is trining your sun, which is great. That means that you probably have your mind on making a new beginning. That's a good idea, Leo, because at the end of next month, there's going to be a solar eclipse in Aries that also trines your sun, and you are aspected. If you're thinking of doing something new or being with somebody new, you know that's pretty well aspected to succeed, Leo. I would sort of come to an understanding about that or start planning for that. It isn't going to happen overnight because, Leo, remember I said there are 3 planets in fixed signs all squaring and opposing each other? Well, all 3 of them are doing it to your sign, Leo, because the moon in Scorpio is squaring your sun, Uranus in Taurus is squaring your sun, Pluto in Aquarius is opposing your sun sign. You do have money problems somewhere, Leo. Now, they could be like a lot of other people. It's tax time. Maybe the money problems have to do with taxes because Scorpio rules taxes. But also it can be that if you are planning for a new start, it's going to cost money. And so as you sort of put the past behind you, which we can all do right now, if you're thinking of making a new start, you're going to have to probably get some sort of an estimate or have some sort of idea of how much it's going to cost. And so I think you should go over the figures, and that is because there can be the value of some investments that are lowering or shrinking. And so you may have to sort of do a new budget right now, Leo. And, you know, you're going to have to prepare for future costs, or you're going to have to prepare for changes in the value of expensive things like expensive property or investments that you've had that may not be paying off quite the way you thought they would. And I wouldn't write anything down if I were you, Leo. If there's something that you think, oh, it's going down, maybe you should sell it, because this is a time when you're probably going to need a little extra money to make a new beginning. And that's what you should be concentrating on. And that would mean that you'd have to clear up some financial problems that you have right now. And so come to an understanding about that, but I hope you don't lose your focus on the future because there is a solar eclipse that's going to trine your sun at the end of next month. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time, Virgo, that you could possibly have some little worries or some tension about mixed messages. And the reason why is that there's nothing in your sign, there's nothing in Capricorn, and Uranus in Taurus is trining your sun, but it is beleaguered right now. The moon's opposing it, and Pluto is squaring it. I mean, Taurus has their own troubles right now, and Taurus rules investments, and so and it rules the New York Stock Exchange. So Virgo, Uranus is trining your sun, but it may not be as much help to you as it may have been in the past. And so I wouldn't just rely on the same amount of money always coming in right now, Virgo. Instead, you could be getting mixed messages. And the reason why is that the 4 planets in Pisces, and that is the Sun, Mercury, your own ruler, Saturn, which are all direct, and Neptune, which is also direct, and the lucky north node of the moon are all opposing your sun sign, where you have the unlucky south node of the moon, which means somebody who just wants to make your life miserable. It's going to go on for another 1.5 years, Virgo, and then it'll be gone. But you know, not everyone is your best friend right now, is what I'm trying to say. And if you wanted to be spending a little bit more time without those people bothering you, that's a good idea. You don't need it. And yet, because Neptune is at the 29th degree of fate, meaning that something that is a fond dream or a goal or something that, even unfinished business that had been going on behind the scenes that you haven't really wrapped up yet, all of those things are going to have to be reconciled in one way or another, Virgo. It may not be easy for you to do that, but this is a time when all of us can reach an understanding about how we honestly feel inside about people that we love, or about a goal that we have, or an ambition of ours. You can reach that truth too, Virgo, because the grand trine of 6 planets and water signs overrides everything. That's because there's 60% of all the planets in those signs. They're the strongest. So this is a good time, even though yours is an analytical sign, this is a good time for you to realize that not everything has to have a logical answer. This is a good time for you to ask how you feel about something, or how you feel about someone, or how you feel about past things that haven't been concluded, that are sort of out there hanging, or that you've been kidding yourself about. And you need to reach an understanding about something right now, Virgo. And I think it has to do with matters of the heart, or with family members, or what you want in your future. We can all put the past behind us right now because Neptune is at the 29th degree of fate. Something is on or over. And so my question to you is, Virgo, what is it in your life that's on or over? Well, can you live with it? Or do you want to do something about it? Or are there mixed messages around? Jupiter in Gemini is squaring your sun. This is a better time for you possibly not to listen to what anybody else is saying, and instead just try to be alone a little bit and search your heart for the answer. You know, not the bottom line, not in anything that is in an accounting book. Just search your heart for the answer. And you will probably be able to reach an understanding because your heart will tell you the truth. And maybe it's time you listened. All right. What does it mean to Libra? Well, Libra, there's some good planets in the air signs, and they are trining your sun because today Pluto in Aquarius is trining your sun. It's going to do that for years, which means that people who are in upper management or head of their own organizations can be very drawn to you, Libra. They can just like your style. You don't even have to do anything to impress them. They just like you the way you are. And then Jupiter in Gemini is trining your sun as well, and it is direct, just like Pluto is, and that simply means that you may be trying to reach an understanding about what to do with your time and who to do it with. And it may be, since your sign rules partnership and legal agreements, you may be thinking that, well, in the background of your life, somebody that you really care about, you know, maybe you should step forward and do something about that. Or if you are wanting to form a partnership with somebody for a goal that you have, this would be a good time to approach somebody about that. And I think possibly, Libra, somebody's going to approach you about that. And if it's even just involving a part-time effort or a part-time or temporary job, you ought to say yes. Because Jupiter is not going to stay in Gemini. It will leave Gemini and go into Cancer by June 10th. And so if you get any kind of offer or suggestions that appeal to you, Libra, then go ahead, jump right in and say yes. And that will help you put the past behind you in one way or another. And so, you know, the water signs rule healing. And as you start a new endeavor or you're with a different person, maybe they don't know that you've been hurting from something in your past. But they might be responsible for healing the pain without you saying a word. You know, as we move on and new things sort of come at us, or we meet people that we really care about, and the time with them is very enjoyable, it sort of renews us. You know, it's like lighting a fire under your heart, or giving your dreams more hope, something like that. So Libra, if you've experienced any kind of silent pain in the past, this is probably a pretty good time for you to reach out and look at what else is coming your way that can be, it may not be permanent, it may be just temporary or part-time, but if I were you, I wouldn't close the door. I'd open the door and say yes. And realize that Jupiter's not going to be trining your sun after June 10th. And so this is a time when you ought to get out among them, Libra. People love to see Libras. They're always charming. So do not hide your light under a bushel right now. Get out and see what's out there, Libra. It's funny. We don't all have all the answers to our own happiness. And we don't necessarily know how we're going to feel about new endeavors or new people in our lives, but it is quite possible that they could take us out into the world with greater happiness and with renewed motivation for success and joy in living. And what's wrong with that, Libra? Nothing. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, the moon is in your sign today. It is really being well fortified, Scorpio. And that is because the Sun, Mercury, Saturn, and Neptune are in Pisces. They're all direct, and so is the lucky north node of the moon. They're all trining your Sun, and Neptune is at the 29th degree of fate. So certainly, since the moon is in your sign and the moon rules our feelings, but it also rules our families, and it rules real estate, and it rules endings. It rules the last half of life. And it rules, and that's what the moon rules, because that's what Cancer rules. But also, Scorpio, your sign rules justice and survival, and it rules loyalty. And it's a healing water sign. It rules medicine, and it rules surgery. It rules the military. It also rules war. Scorpio, this is a pivotal time for you. Since Neptune is at the 29th degree of fate, and your own ruler, Mars, is in Cancer, also trining your Sun, it means that if you've been sort of ducking out of uncomfortable situations that involve your family or real estate or something like that, or an ending, Cancer rules endings, and you've been trying to sort of get around that or avoid it, I would suggest that you not do that, that instead you try to reach an understanding now. Because of that understanding that you reach, either with your own heart and what your heart is telling you, or with others, it's going to affect whether a fond dream of yours or someone that you love behind the scenes, it's going to affect whether that is on or over. And Neptune is trining your Sun, but it isn't going to, it's at the 29th degree. And that means that we can put the past behind us. Because any planet at the 29th degree means something is on or over. And so this is a really important time for you to say, okay, what's in your heart, deep in your heart? Another way of asking yourself that question is, what would really destroy you if it was gone? You know, if you had a fond dream about somebody but never did anything about it for one reason or another, and they walked out of your life, how would that affect you? Well, you know, it's nice to dream. It's better to make a dream come true. And this is a time when anybody can reach an understanding about what's really in their heart and how they feel. Not just about people, but about goals, about where they are at this time in their life and where they want to go in the future. And so you can do the same thing, Scorpio, and I strongly suggest that this is the right time for you to do that, because all the water signs rule healing. And with 6 planets there right now, it really is a time when even if you were going to make a new beginning with somebody new, and other people, particularly jealousy from family members or friends, and they could say, well, wait a minute, that's upsetting the old status quo. Well, don't worry about that. It's your life, Scorpio. It's not their lives. It's your life. It's up to you to reach that understanding. And besides, in the end, if you're choosing someone or something that will make you happy for the rest of your life, that happiness is going to spread out to others. And it may not be the old status quo, but it could be a whole lot better than what was there before. And you probably know that. And Scorpio rules secrecy. They don't tell everybody the way they feel. But this is a time, even if you don't tell anybody else, you've got to reach an understanding, Scorpio, about what's really in your heart and what you're going to do about it. Because that 29th degree of fate where Neptune is means something is on or over. And so that means you have to decide. And then do something about it. Wishing on a star or kidding yourself about something is not the way to go right now. So I wish you the very best. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, Venus in Aries is trining your sun, which is very nice. It's the only planet in a fire sign right now, so that means you could really have your mind on a new start, Sagittarius. And I think that what you're doing is, Venus is direct in Aries. I think that just gradually you're thinking more and more and more about a new start. Even if one had been stalled already, even if there had been sort of mixed messages and you weren't too sure about the way to get it off the ground, this is a time when I think that you really should try to reach an understanding about how important a new start is to you and do something about it, Sagittarius, because there will be a solar eclipse in Aries trining your sun next month. And as far as timing goes, that's the time to get it off the ground. Something that you've really been thinking about or wishing for. You know, Pisces rules dreams. Those planets in Pisces are squaring your sun, but Venus in Aries is trining it. So either you've been kidding yourself about something for a long time, Sagittarius. Well, why don't you just find out whether it's A or nay? Why don't you just go and talk to people? If somebody says no, okay, it's no. That's not the end of the world. You could try something new in a different direction. You know, it's just that you can't just sit on the fence right now, because that Neptune is at the 29th degree of Pisces. Well, it's exactly squaring the 29th degree of your sign, Sagittarius. It's opposing the 29th degree of Virgo, and it is also squaring the 29th degree of Gemini. Something has to be resolved. And so you need to, even if you need to backtrack a little bit, even if you say, okay, well, this hasn't worked, well, then don't kid yourself about it. If you still want to make a new start, try going in a new direction. I don't think you have anything to lose. So keep your hopes up, but you have to do more than have hope. You have to work at something now, Sagittarius, and that's because that solar eclipse is going to be so beneficial to your sun sign in just another month. So you got to get going. All right, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this is a time, Capricorn, when yes, Uranus in Taurus is trining your sun, but it is beleaguered. The moon in Scorpio is opposing it. Pluto in Aquarius is squaring it. You should be looking at your investments, Capricorn, but I would say they're probably rock solid. Capricorns don't like taking risks, and they sort of like, they're not extravagant in any way, and they look for value at all times, and they're careful with their money. Okay, so I don't think that that's going to bother, even if there is a temporary downturn in the value of your investments. I would say hold on, Capricorn, and just sort of wait and see if it'll turn around a little bit. I don't think it's going to do that at the moment, but you know, or you could just spend this time reaching an understanding about how what your money is doing for you, and whether you like that or whether you want to change it. Now, thinking is free. You can do that, and you might want to put a pencil to your financial investments and you know, just say, okay, do I like this, or do I want to change something? And that could also apply to your expenses, what your expenses are. And it doesn't mean that you always have to live frugally and cut down on all of your expenses, but you could take a real close look at whether something's really worth it or not at this time in your life. And possibly that some of the things that you can afford and you're used to spending money on, maybe that doesn't mean as much to you as it used to. And just ask yourself, you know, reach an understanding of how you're doing today, and if everything is working for you the way you want, and if there's a need to change anything. There might be. But otherwise, I would say that that you're in the same boat as everybody else. With 6 planets and water signs all trining each other, this is an excellent time for you to reach an understanding about how you really feel about someone who's very dear to you, or about some sort of goal or dream that you have. And remember, you can put the past behind you. You can, you know, whatever you're liking to do today was probably not the same thing that you liked to do years ago. Maybe you're onto something new already. Well, that's fine, because you got Pluto in Aquarius right ahead of your sun sign, and that's being beautifully trined by Jupiter in Gemini. It can be that you have a new interest, Capricorn, and it's starting small, or it's just part-time, or maybe it's temporary, or maybe it involves short forms of education or communication, but it might feel pretty good to you right now. So just reach that understanding first, and then I think you can go forward in your usual steady way. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, this is a time, Aquarius, when I think that you can be sort of coming up against some financial problems, and they may not even be your problems, but they could be sort of trying to be your problems. In other words, the moon in Scorpio is squaring Pluto in your own sun sign, so you could have great ideas for the future, but where are you going to get the money for it, Aquarius? Got to sort of think about that a little bit. If you are in debt in any way, and Scorpio rules debt, you would have to concentrate on getting out of it first before you could ever start in a new direction. If you're not in debt and you do have money around, you'd have to sort of think about, okay, where to put it, and how much are the taxes going to be if you're going to make an investment. You need to think a lot more about what your current financial situation is, and how you may want to handle it in the future based on what else is happening in the world that's not in your control. Because the moon in Scorpio is squaring your sun. Well, Uranus, your own ruler, is in Taurus, and it's also squaring your sun. You really don't have too much control over your investments right now, because if the economy is shaky, that doesn't mean you are, but you'd have to live with what's going on. And so, Aquarius, you really need to do some real solid thinking right now, but Jupiter is in Gemini, trining your sun. And that's excellent, because even if you were pretty solid financially yourself, the world around you could be going through a little bit of change. And if you just felt that you'd like to go out and get a part-time job, even just temporarily, there's nothing wrong with that, Aquarius. I mean, fine. You can do that if that makes you feel better. It would probably be a rather healthy use of your time, too, a stimulating use of your time. And so whether you have been thinking about a secret love, or a secret ambition of yours, or a goal of yours, this is the time to reach an understanding about that. Those 4 planets in Pisces are right ahead of your sun sign, and they're being beautifully aspected. They're well backed up in a grand trine in the water signs. So it's really important, Aquarius, for you just to ask yourself, well, how do I feel about someone or something today? And how much time do I want to spend on that in my future? And if it's a commitment that you want to make and you want to spend a lot of time on that in your future, then you need to admit it and do something about it. And I would do it while Jupiter is still trining your sun. That would be good for you. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces. This is a time, Pisces, when I almost think you can do no wrong. Because there are so many planets in your sign. The sun is there, Mercury is there, Saturn is there, Neptune is there at the 29th degree of fate, and so is the lucky north node of the moon. But Neptune is, since it's at the 29th degree of fate in your sign, Pisces, it really means for you something is on or over. And now's the time to come to reach an understanding about that, because it's really true. Either you've been kidding yourself about a fond dream of yours, or somebody that you really care about, but perhaps you've never said anything to them. If you really care, you better get on it, Pisces, because something is on or over. It could be that somebody who, Pisces are a little bit shy, but so are other people. And it may be that somebody has liked you just as much as you like them, and they've been waiting for you to say something or do something or make the first move. Well, Pisces are not aggressive. I mean, if it was an Aries, they'd make the first move. They'd be happy to do that. But a Pisces, they sort of hold back sometimes, a little bit afraid of having people know what their limitations are. Except Pisces, we all have limitations. You are not the only person on the block with limitations. There's a lot of people like that. And also, what you may think is a limitation could be something that someone else thinks that endears you to them. See, you're looking You could be looking at a doubt or a fear or a limitation of yours that you worry about all the time, or you've been kidding yourself about, and you could be blowing that up and thinking that that was the worst thing in the world. And somebody who hasn't said a word to you, just the way you haven't said a word to them, could be looking at all of that, and they could be thinking, you know, that just makes them more lovable. Or you know, I like the way they do things. And so something that was a bigger fear than it should be in your mind is looked on as a blessing in someone else's mind. And you know, you're either going to keep kidding yourself and digging a hole for yourself that way, or you're going to do something about somebody else that you really care about. This is the time. If anything, Pisces, this is the time to make a dream come true. And unfortunately, it's just about the last time you can make a dream come true, because nobody's kidding themselves anymore. People want to put the past behind them. And that's what Neptune rules, kidding yourself. Neptune rules escape. That's what Pisces rules. It rules everything that's going on behind the scenes. But Neptune's moving on. And this is your chance, Pisces, with so much backup. The moon in Scorpio is trining Saturn in your sign, and Mercury and the sun. That's good. The lights are trining each other. And Neptune and the lucky north node of the moon. Either you can be a wonderful friend to somebody else, or somebody wants to be a wonderful friend to you if you'll just let them. And so you sort of need to reach an understanding about, you know, how much are you going to sort of hide your fears in the dark and let them get bigger in your eyes? Or are you going to step out into the light of the real world? And not everybody thinks the way you do, Pisces. Whatever you think your worst faults are, somebody else could think that they're charming. Believe me, they could. There's different strokes for different folks. I remember that phrase from long ago. And you could either make a dream come true and have it be reciprocated. All those planets in your sign are direct. You know, what you give out will come back. Perhaps even greater than you had dreamed of. And so you don't need to be afraid of anything right now, Pisces. There could be mixed messages around. Jupiter in Gemini is squaring all the planets in your sign. That's why we all need to reach an understanding right now, and why we can reach an understanding by simply withdrawing a little bit and asking our heart how we really feel. Water signs rule healing. So if you're honest with yourself, that could heal you, Pisces, in the long run. And even if you didn't tell anybody how badly something hurt, maybe somebody who cares a lot about you too would understand without you saying anything. You know, love is a silent language of its own. And it can come from one heart to another as long as the love is real. And that's what you need to reach the understanding about. How do you really feel? And this is, you got to do something about it once you face the truth. And I'm pretty sure with all the tremendous support in the water signs that someone else has been waiting a long time to hear that. You have nothing to fear except losing them. Don't let that happen, Pisces. We don't heal by ourselves. Love heals us. And it could come from a stranger, or it could come from somebody that you really admire and think a lot of. So give it a try. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in, and thank you very much for the new subscribers. And I hope you tell your friends about my Karen Campbell YouTube channel, where STARBORN shows every single week. Because in next week's show, an odd thing is happening. First of all, next week's show is going to cover the new moon in Pisces. And the odd thing that's happening is that there's not a single planet, except one, that changes signs from where it is this week. That's why reaching an understanding is so important. Those planets are going to hang around in all the signs where they are today that I've already described, except the moon. by the time we reach the new moon in Pisces, it'll be that the moon has moved from Scorpio, one water sign, up to Pisces, where the new moon is in Pisces. There will still be 6 planets in water signs under that new moon. So I already have the title for next week's show. I don't have the whole script written, but I already know what that means. That's why it's so important this week for everybody to ask your heart how you really feel and reach an understanding about that. And don't worry about other people that say as it's going to rock their boat. It's not their heart. It's yours that matters now. So you do it. Do something about that. All right. I'll see you next week right here for Starborn. Bye.